morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. But thank you everyone for joining us today to learn about what's new in BIMrx 3.2 or BIMrx Core MEP Fabrication 3.2 and BIMrx Cloud Manager 2.9. With the BIMrx 3.2 release on the horizon, we wanted to show you and prep you for what's next. Just a reminder before getting started, I want to let everyone know that if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to enter them into the questions box, and we will have a short Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Let's get started by introducing our presenters for today's webinar. My name is Sheer Ehrlich, and I'm a BIMrx Core product owner. Before I became the product owner, I was an architectural consultant, here at Microdesk, who specialized in both BIM implementation and Dynamo automation. And as a consultant, I experienced the frustrations with working in just out-of-the-box Revit, which is why I originally turned to Dynamo to automate those mundane tasks, which then, of course, led me to help develop BIMrx. And joining me today are my colleagues Brendan Gregory and Ed LaRiviere.
Hi, I'm Brendan Gregory. I'm a project manager and the product owner for BIMrx Cloud Manager at Microdesk. I use BIMrx Cloud Manager and BIMrx Core to manage our Revit and BIM 360 projects on a daily basis. While working as a BIM project manager, I experienced many inefficiencies while managing BIM 360. So I've been working with our product development team to speed up, improve, and automate those workflows with BIMrx Cloud Manager.
And I'm Ed LaRiviere. I'm a strategic implementation manager and also an MEP and fabrication product owner. I've been heavily involved in automation and BIM adoption over the years, and I've seen all those struggles firsthand. Microdesk also noticed these struggles in modeling workflows, and we really decided to band together and fix them. So I'm here to share that with everybody.
Thanks, Brendan and Ed. Today we will be showcasing all the new improvements and new features in BIMrx Core MEP and Fabrication 3.2 and BIMrx Cloud Manager 2.9. And if you are new to BIMrx, please check out our website or our YouTube channels to learn about what BIMrx can do for you. Here you can read all about our existing commands and features, watch videos, and subscribe to BIMrx so that you can stay up to date with all the latest BIMrx information. And of course, if anyone misses today's webinar, we will be posting it to the YouTube channel as well. Before diving into all the new improvements, I want to talk a little bit about what BIMrx is for anyone who is new. We built BIMrx to enhance and simplify both Revit and BIM 360 or ACC. Each of our products is purpose-built to allow us to get projects out the door faster and, spend less time on those low-level tasks and more time focused on things like design or sustainability. And BIMrx Core, MEP, and Fabrication are all built to be a part of Revit, while BIMrx Cloud Manager is our standalone desktop application. It is a suite of products that is really developed by AEC professionals like us for AEC professionals like you. BIMrx is built to streamline the entire BIM project lifecycle from views and model production to collaborating with stakeholders and project administration. So let's dive right into talking about the improvements and new features in the BIMrx suite of products. First things first, I'm happy to announce that we will be integrated with the new Revit 2023 in the next 3.2 release of BIMrx, and you will see that today in all of the videos that we showcase our new features in. And we will start with BIMrx Core, which is the foundation for all trades in terms of project setup, model management, and documentation. From things like setting up views in your project to managing Excel data to tagging your drawings and even creating and managing your print sets, BIMrx Core is really built to work throughout your entire project lifecycle. So let's get into those improvements. With every release of BIMrx, we are learning more and more about our customers' needs and incorporating the feedback we receive from people like you into our existing commands and features. And we have done a lot of improvements in BIMrx 3.2 to some of our favorite core commands and features. We have made improvements to extract and update, to improve the export of Revit schedules, and to have a preview before importing. For Create Table, we have added the ability to update the Revit schedules from the Excel file so that if that Excel file is modified, it can be updated back into the Revit model. The BIMrx renumbering feature has been improved to include the ability to renumber by line or spline. Our elevation command now works on rooms that are rotated or not facing the north, south, east, and west directions of the project. Our tag settings and tag select has been improved to add an orientation option and to make it easier to select multiple elements for both the tag select and tag select linked elements. The align command now also works on text notes. And lastly, the BIMrx print set manager now includes the ability to print multiple print sets at once. So let's dive in and see how these improvements work. Let's start by looking at the BIMrx extract and update feature. As you all know, the BIMrx extract and update feature allows for round-trip data between Revit and Excel. Some of the new features are in the export of our Revit schedules. Previously, if you selected multiple schedules to export, they would export into one Excel file. But now we have added the option to select an output format. So we can select multiple schedules and choose to either have them exported to one combined Excel file or exported into individual Excel files for each schedule. All we have to do is select that option and hit export. For the individual file, the file name that we input will actually be the suffix will actually be the prefix, and the suffix will automatically be applied as the name of the schedule. So when we select save, it'll let us know when it's done, and then we can go to that folder location to see our 3 different Excel files that we exported with that prefix that we typed and suffixed with the schedule name. And we can then open one of our schedules and see that it was successfully exported. Then we can begin to use the power of Excel to really input that data, updating our data, or making changes to our data. When we come back to our BIMrx update feature, we can select that Excel file and simply hit open. And another new feature in BIMrx 3.2 is a preview of our update. We can now view that data before it is updated in Revit. And if we're happy, we simply select to update and see that all that information is quickly imported back into our Revit model. Next on the list is the renumbering feature. With the BIMrx renumbering feature, we are able to renumber just about anything within the Revit model. And new in BIMrx 3.2 is the option to renumber by spline or line that we've drawn in our view. And this can be either model line or detail line. For example, we can select all the furniture elements in our view and use the renumbering feature to renumber them by spline. Now we must first select the correct parameter to renumber by, and then we can set up our renumbering rule. For our actions, we have the previous option to renumber by selecting the order on screen and our new renumber by spline option. And when we select the renumber by spline, we can then select the spline that we have previously drawn. Now we can see here that not all elements we selected actually intersects with that line. The renumbering feature will make sure that those elements that aren't intersecting are automatically unchecked and therefore aren't renumbered. We can then view the new numbers, and once we are happy with the sequence, we can simply select to renumber the elements. And there you have it. Our furniture elements have been renumbered according to that spline. Now let's move on to the BIMrx Elevation command. With the BIMrx Elevation command, we can create north, south, east, and west interior elevations of our rooms. Here we can select within our settings the elevation type. And then when we run the elevation command, we can select many different rooms to create elevations for. As you can see, we are selecting rooms that are facing different directions and have different angles. New in BIMrx 3.2 is the ability to select rooms that aren't facing the north, south, east, or west directions of the Revit project. In this case, instead of them being labeled N, S, E, and W for their directions, they will be labeled A, B, C, and D, prefixed with the room name and number, as you can see in the project browser. When creating the elevation, the BIMrx command will crop the view to the same extent of the room with a minimal view depth that encompasses the room. Even with oddly shaped rooms, it will encompass the entire room at that elevation location. The BIMrx Elevation command is now even more flexible and able to work on different angles of rooms and different shapes of rooms to create those 4 interior elevations for you. We have also seen some improvements to the BIMrx tagging features. And the BIMrx tagging features allow us to easily tag elements in our view. A new feature in the BIMrx tag settings is the ability to specify an orientation option for tagging either by element or by view. So let's quickly set up our tag configurations for some host-based elements like our windows and our doors to see how we can change the way the orientation works for these elements. In the previous version of BIMrx, the specified location was always relative to the view. For example, if we're specifying the location for bottom, it's always going to be at the bottom of the element relative to the view, as you can see when I start tagging these doors. This means for elements that are rotating, like our host-based elements, it can get a bit tricky. The new feature will allow us the option to specify our orientation by element. So when we have elements that are changing orientation based off of the host, the placement will now adjust according to their orientation. So now bottom is always relative to the door rather than relative to the view. And this will work for any element that changes orientation, like you can see here for our windows that are rotating around our building. Now that my configurations are set up, I can go ahead and save them and then use my handy BIMrx tag select or tag select linked elements to easily tag all the elements in my view with my new orientation option. And another update is the selection method for both tag select and tag select linked elements, which works the same and allows us to easily select multiple elements to tag. These new improvements to the BIMrx tagging features makes it even easier to tag our elements. And speaking of documentation, let's check out the added features to the BIMrx align commands. With the BIMrx align commands, we could align Revit tags and dimensions with the various align options, but new in BIMrx 3.2 is the added functionality of aligning text notes as well. For example, we can easily clean up all the text notes in this drawing and align them to the left. It really is that easy. And once our drawings are documented, we can print them, and we can now do that with the added functionality in the BIMrx Print Set Manager. The BIMrx Print Set Manager allows us to easily create print sets, duplicate print sets, delete print sets, or make any modifications to our existing print sets. Our new features have to do with exporting these print sets out to a PDF. On the left, there is a new column added where we can select which print sets to be printed. At the bottom of the UI, we will see 2 new action buttons, one that allows us to access the Revit out-of-the-box print manager, and one that allows us to print those specified print sets. When we select to print, a dialog will appear with the settings. Here we can select our printer type from either Bluebeam or QPDF, and then we can choose if we want to print our sheets to a combined PDF or individual PDFs. Now this works exactly like the out-of-the-box Revit print settings, except when selecting to print individual PDFs, BIMrx will automatically generate a subfolder with the print set name for each of our individual PDFs to go to. Let's go ahead and open that folder to see the location of those print set folders. And then we can open up the subfolders to see that our sheets were exported successfully as individual PDFs. And there you have it. With the new features in the BIMrx Print Set Manager, we can easily print multiple print sets at the same time. So those were all the improvements to the existing features in BIMrx Core. So let's take a look at the new features now. In the latest release, we have also added 4 new features to BIMrx Core. We have a brand new sheet view manager that has been completely rebuilt and redesigned to make creating views and sheets so much faster and easier. Our Create Table feature that previously imported Excel tables into Revit schedule headers has a new feature to convert Excel tables into Revit drafting views as lines, texts, and filled regions. We have a new addition to our suite of tagging commands, Tag All, which allows us to tag multiple views at once with a click of a button. And lastly, this isn't a new feature to BIMrx, but is new to BIMrx Core, which is the Sum Parameter feature. This has been moved from BIMrx MEP to BIMrx Core and shows us the sum of a variety of parameters of our selected elements. So let's dive in and check out these new features. Let's start with the biggest new feature, which is the brand new BIMrx Sheet View Manager. The new BIMrx Sheet View Manager has been completely redesigned for better user experience. On the left-hand side, you'll see all of the functions of what the BIMrx Sheet View Manager can do. It can set up your configuration settings, create views, duplicate views, create sheets, place views on sheets, and align views on sheets. Now we are still utilizing the Excel configuration file to do all of our configurations, and we can do a save as, a save, a load for a new file, or update the Revit data to the Excel configuration file. But the real change is that now we can make all of our modifications directly within the Sheet View Manager here, like maybe updating our level associated names or numbers, managing our view template sequencing, or even adding, removing, and modifying our view sets. We can add a new view set and add all the data associated to that view set, like our view settings, naming, view types, sequencing, or our sheet parameters, like the naming of our sheets and even the title block. And this will make modifying our configurations so much easier. Once we save it, and we can go ahead and start setting up our views. The new Create View module allows us to easily modify our view naming convention, select from all the different view sets we set up in the previous module, and then specify the levels we want to create the views for. We can also specify the scope box and the phases. Now, once we hit apply, we'll see that the data grid will update with all those parameters that we've specified in those configuration settings. There's also a new append button that allows us to make any changes to the top portion and append, which will just add it to the bottom of the data grid. And once we're satisfied with our views, we can go ahead and create those views and see them in our project browser. And there we have it, our floor plans, finished plans, and working plans. Now I want to go ahead and create a few dependent views for, let's say, the 2 towers of my building, as you see here. This is going to be in our new duplicate view module. Just like in the Create View module, we are able to customize the naming convention for our duplicated views, and then I can go ahead and easily add all the necessary views I want to duplicate and specify the scope boxes that I want to duplicate. It's going to create a view for each scope box. Once again, I can preview it in the data grid, and then once I'm satisfied, I can hit Duplicate View. And of course, it's going to duplicate those views as I specified in that grid. Now that I have our views created, let's use the Sheet View Manager to create a bunch of sheets. Our Create Sheets module is set up similarly to the Create Views module, where I can customize my sheet naming convention, my sheet numbering convention, and then select the view sets and levels that I want. Simply hit apply, and once again, we'll see the data grid update. And once I'm happy with that data, I can go ahead and create those sheets. And there's all my sheets. Next in the Sheet View Manager is the ability to place views on sheets. And this is just like in the previous version. Just to note though, that we are still able to export all information out to Excel, make modifications in Excel to either creating views, duplicating views, creating sheets, or placing views on sheets. This allows us to streamline this process even further if necessary. So here I have my Excel file, and I'm going to quickly fill out all the information for placing my views on my sheets, and then go ahead and come back to the Sheet View Manager, where I can load in that Excel file to place those views on those sheets, and it's going to update the data grid exactly like the Excel file. And in just a few seconds, all my views have been placed on my sheets. Now, the last module of the Sheet View Manager is the Alignment module. So here we're going to move some of our views just a little bit to get it exactly where we want it to be. And what we want to do is now align all the views on all our sheets to this template sheet that we just set up. So we're going to open up the Sheet View Manager and go to the Alignment module, which works just like it did before, but with added filtering capabilities. So now it's so much easier to find all the views that we want to align on all the different sheets. For example, let's go ahead and align the Tower A view to all the other ones on all the other sheets, and align the Tower B view across all our different sheets. And there you have it. All our views are perfectly aligned. The new BIMrx Sheet View Manager is really built to make creating views, duplicating views, creating sheets, placing views on sheets, and aligning views on sheets so much faster and easier. Another feature that you've heard of, but has a new feature, is Create Table. The previous version of the BIMrx Create Table feature allowed us to bring Excel tables into Revit schedules, but now we have added the ability to convert Excel tables into Revit drafting views as lines, text, and filled regions. Here we have an Excel table, and the first thing we want to do is set up the print area to identify which portion of that Excel table will be converted to a Revit drafting view. Then we can come back to BIMrx, where we can select the file, select the sheet, and wait for BIMrx to do its job, which is converting that Excel table into lines, text, and filled regions onto a drafting view. And there you have it. Our drafting view has been created as Revit lines and text. But wait, there's more, of course. We also have a feature to update that drafting view if there are any changes made to that Excel file or that Revit or that schedule. So here we are going to go ahead and quickly make some changes to, some text, modify some data, and even go ahead and fill in some cells with different colors just to see how BIMrx handles that change. And once we have those changes, we can come back to the Create Table feature and select that Excel file and simply hit Update. It's going to take a couple of seconds, and once it's done, we can check and see that those changes are updated and our drafting view is successfully changed. This new addition to the Create Table feature allows for even more ways to integrate our Excel files into our Revit projects. One of the features I am most excited about is the new Tag All feature. Previously, we saw how we could set up our tag settings, but now there's a new feature for tagging all views at once. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and set up our tag groups within our tag settings. This will allow us to select multiple tag configurations and group them together. Then we can use the brand new Tag All feature to tag multiple views at once. I can select from either individual configurations or groups of configurations to tag my views with. We even have filtering so that we can easily find which views we want tagged. Once our configurations and views are selected, we simply select Execute, and it will tag those selected views per our configuration settings. And just like that, all the views are successfully tagged, and my tags are beautifully placed. And I've done all of that without having to even open a single view. This will make documenting my drawings easier than ever before. And last but not least is the BIMrx Sum Parameter feature, which has been moved from BIMrx MEP to BIMrx Core and can be used to sum the values of our selected elements. For example, I can use it to get the value of the total area of all the rooms on a specific level. Or let's say we wanted to calculate the total length of our exterior walls. The BIMrx Sum Parameter command can easily get all of these values. And there you have it. Those are all the new commands and features in BIMrx 3.2. BIMrx Core 3.2 at least. BIMrx Core already had so many incredible commands and features. However, we are continuously making improvements to those commands and features and adding new ones to help our project teams with project setup, model management, and documentation. And I'll mention it again in case you missed it the first time, but BIMrx Core is for all disciplines. And I'm certain that you would benefit from not just one, but many of the features listed here. So I hope you got a small taste of what BIMrx Core could do for your project teams. And now that I've reviewed what's new in BIMrx Core 3.2, I will hand it over to Brendan to showcase all the amazing improvements to BIMrx Cloud Manager.
Thank you, Sheer. The new and improved BIMrx core features you showed are so powerful. Let me share my screen and we'll get into BIMrx Cloud Manager. The BIMrx Cloud Manager Pro 2.9 release is focused on new features for the member management module and improvements to our sync and export features. In case you're new to BIMrx Cloud Manager, let's review what it is. BIMrx Cloud Manager is a standalone desktop application that was purpose-built to accelerate project setup, member management, and automate data management tasks and export tasks for both BIM 360 and Autodesk Construction Cloud projects. Now let's talk about the new features in BIMrx Cloud Manager 2.9. We added 3 brand new features in the member management module. You can see some of the screenshots on the right. Now you can bulk inactivate and activate hub members with ease. You can clearly see familiar icons for the status a role will provide project members. And you can control the project admin status in bulk with ease from multiple project members across multiple projects. And in the jobs module, we've also removed a step to deploy automation jobs by adding the save and deploy button. Now let's quickly go over the improvements in BIMrx Cloud Manager 2.9. We've listened to our customers and made key improvements to support their unique workflows. We now support exporting linked geometry and information when exporting NWC, DWG, and PDFs. We now support downloading files larger than 2 gigabytes. This is a key differentiator between Autodesk Construction Cloud Connect, the Work Auto tool, and BIMrx Cloud Manager Pro. We now support renamed BIM 360 project file folders for scheduled publish, upload, and download automation jobs. We've implemented a faster project browser that no longer has you waiting for the entire project to load. You can now browse down the branch of the tree much quicker. We've also added the ability for users to suppress any pop-ups that might interrupt a BIMrx automation export job for PDF, NWC, and DWG. Let's take a look at the new bulk inactive and active feature in the member management module. We are now able to set hub member statuses to active or inactive in bulk. We can select all users from an email domain or a company very quickly with that filter. The list remembers the selections even when switching filters. Here I'm showing the process for updating 2 users that were set to inactive and setting them to active. It only takes a few seconds to process. And the results are logged at the bottom right. Now I'm quickly setting those users back to inactive. It's that simple. You can now efficiently inactivate or activate whole companies or multiple users with ease in a matter of seconds. Let's take a look at the new roles and project admin status features. Here I'll show how we can add users in bulk to multiple projects while setting their company and roles. I'll use a name filter to select a user, and then an email domain filter to select all the users in a company. Now I'm going to go and set the company, and the new feature in roles is the addition of the familiar icons that show the status of the project, admin, and document management for each role. I can select multiple roles for these users, and it will apply the highest level of access from the selections. The next new feature is the ability to override project admin status for these users. If you need them all to get project admin or not, it's very easy to control. Also, you can keep the current level based on the roles. Then I add the users to the projects, and it takes a few seconds to process. The same process is used to update users already on a project. You can add or remove roles from users already on projects while also modifying their project admin status in bulk. Managing multiple users across multiple projects has never been easier. Let's take a look at the new project tree browsing feature. We are now able to browse projects much faster. You no longer have to wait for the entire project to load. You can browse down the branch of the tree you want immediately. Notice here that we can see the information on the files in this folder for version, size, date modified, and by who. Also, the Revit projects that have cloud work shared syncs available for publishing will have a button to publish latest. BIMrx Cloud Manager is full of features that accelerate project setup, member management, and automate data management and export tasks. Now that we've covered the updates in BIMrx Cloud Manager 2.9, let's hand it off to Ed to showcase what's new in BIMrx MEP and BIMrx Fabrication.
All right, thank you, Sheer and Brendan. That was some pretty powerful stuff. All right, I hope everyone here has been comparing your internal workflows against what's possible when you leverage BIMrx. Let's get that in there. Now, before we jump into it, I do just want to remind everyone that BIMrx MEP is a suite of commands to help you model and manage your models quicker and easier. All right, since BIMrx 3.1, there have been some improvements to our favorite existing MEP commands and features based around usability. MEP settings have been expanded even further. They now include the option to specify work sets. It also now has an expanded conduit parameters tracking pane. This is going to allow us to sync up with existing commands and the new feature, data transfer conduits, which we'll see a little bit later. We've also made modeling dialogues a bit easier. They've been updated for more consistent selection, and all the commands really feel the same. And for new features, we're going to be taking a look at data transfer conduits, and that paired with the MEP settings conduit parameter is going to allow electrical teams to more easily track information through their conduit runs. So let's take a look at some of these commands in action. And let's get that going. So for the work sets, we're going to see that I can easily assign the HVAC items, electrical to the electrical items, and so on. This is going to make it much easier to work inside those combined trade models and internally when you're trying to use work sets to help with visibility. Now, after this, we're going to see that the conduit data tracker is able to choose a collection of parameters to work with. Currently, this command is only working with the elbow commands as seen when routing the route to command after, but we're going to see in a minute that when we pair this with the data transfer conduit, we have an entire complete workflow. And here we go, watching those two parameters over there, running an elbow to the left. Those parameters have tracked all the way through, but in a second as we run the route to command, we will need to pair this with the data transfer conduits to get the actual final product. So we will see data transfer conduits very shortly. So now that that conduit has been connected, we will see that parts of the run may need to have some data pushed through. So by using the data transfer conduit, I'm able to grab an element with the data I want and push it through to the rest of that conduit run. We saw that right there, choosing one, choosing the rest of the run, and having that data push all the way through. So a little bit like this time, but BIMrx MEP was already awesome. And we're just trying to make it better and really start supporting that electrical trade as well. So there's not just a little something for everyone, there's a lot for everyone. So we've made it through MEP here, and let's go take a look at the new feature sets for fabrication. So as a reminder to anyone new, fabrication exists to speed up fabrication modeling workflows, as well as assist in detailing and documenting your models. A reminder, the modeling commands in fabrication are for ITM, but all of the detailing stuff works with Revit families or those ITM parts. So coming in hot, we have some much requested features and updates for fabrication. Let's start out with the updates. Spooling is receiving just one update, but also a few new features as well. We're going to see those shortly. For the updates, continuation tags are going to automatically update if an assembly's name changes. We also have updated hangers a bit. So we now have mapping settings, the RFA trapezing for pipe, and we've improved adjustments for rod lengths. Now, sync fab parameters has also been combined into our fabrication properties panel. This is going to make it incredibly easy to select and sync parameters. And there we go. Let's take a look. So I am using the standard hanger command to place them down from a configuration that I have already set up. After I place some hangers down, I'm going to use the trapeze command. In this example, I'm going to extend to a linked piece of conduit. This is conduit not within my model. This is conduit from within an electrical model. I'd like to note that this command also allows for multiple selection of elements to avoid. If you have a model you want to work on, and then other models, we can do that. It allows you to choose a host height element, then choose any other elements that we want to extend past. Clicking OK, we see that that expands out to host all of those. So once those hangers have been placed, we can also make some edits to the rods. So new in 3.2, we have separated those rod lengths out, so we have individual control over each of them. These can be adjusted using the command and then easily flipped using the swap hanger command as well. Now, lastly, we've made the sync fabrication parameters command much more intuitive. Just click the plus to add a parameter, and it's going to start being tracked within your properties panel. All we need to do is click the equals to sync that value back. Now, I do want to note this is not currently a live or automatic update. If something moves, if something changes, you do need to click the equal button to go ahead and sync that parameter across everything again. Now, I mentioned there's some cool features here as well, and here they are. So Spooling has a few new features added to it. It can auto dimension in 3D, and you can also now select the default tag from your spool settings. Lastly, spools can be auto-defined by size and by weight. We've also added a heel pipe feature. This to easily allow us to merge those fabrication segments back together. Let's take a look at the spooling commands. Auto-defined spools is a much requested and brand new addition. Lets you click a run of elements, then choose a start and an end. You can then define the box size and any weight requirements you have as well. Just making sure that it works for you and the way that you plan to get to the field. It will then split it into those individual assemblies based on that selection. The Spool Manager color guide makes it incredibly easy to see those individual spools or assemblies. From there, spooling behaves the exact same way it always has. All it takes is a few button clicks, and I'm going to have a nicely generated spool sheet. See that created there, opened right up, and that looks pretty nice. Next is the dimensioning and tagging. 3D dimensions and easier default tagging have made their way to the option menus of the BIMrx Spool Manager. So 3D dimensions is included with all other dimensions, not as a separate item. You don't want to see them in a 3D view. Dimensions just have to be toggled off from your view templates. You can also now quickly access the default tags by clicking the default tags button. When using element tagging in the 3D view, it's going to use whatever the default tag is for that element. Afterwards, all I need to do is generate the spool to see the 3D dimensions and these tags. A few button clicks later, in a couple seconds, and I have a nice looking spool. Hopping in there, we see the tags and dimensions, and all I have to do is shift a couple bubbles around, and that's good to go. A nice looking spool. And last up, we have the heel pipe command. Heel pipe really comes from a place of need. When using the routing commands in stock Revit, as well as any of the BIMrx commands, ITM pipework is often left with those multiple sections. Heel pipe is allowing us to come in and either merge these one at a time or grab entire groups of elements and merge that back together on their own. After that, it's incredibly easy to optimize or split later at our own convenience. In addition to everything we just saw, we have so much more in fabrication and MEP as well. It's definitely worth taking a look into and seeing what else you can leverage. So like mentioned before, BIMrx is continuously evolving and improving. We always want to hear from customers like you about stuff you'd like to see inside BIMrx. We've made it even easier. You can submit your ideas, improvements, or entirely new commands directly to the BIMrx website. So go to BIMrx.com and we have that feature request right there. And with that, I'd like to say I really appreciate everyone taking the time out of your day to listen about those new features in BIMrx Core, MEP, and Fabrication, as well as Cloud Manager 2.9. Just a reminder to everyone, this release is just around the corner, so keep your eyes peeled. For more information on BIMrx, please visit the BIMrx or Microdesk website. You'll be able to view our products, schedule demos, and get in touch with the right people to get you started on BIMrx.